What is up, everybody? Welcome to Odyssey's 49ers Web Zone No Huddle podcast. I am Brian Rennick. I will be joined by the one and only Zain Nakfi. He is off IR, but he is still in the locker room getting taped up. He should be on shortly, but we are here and we are ready to celebrate. We're ready to smoke that NFC West Division Champions pack. The San Francisco 49ers on QB3 went up to Seattle and beat the Seattle Seahawks to clinch the NFC West Division title for the first time since 2019. And they did it again at Lumen Field. It wasn't Lumen Field in 2019, but that's what it is now. And it's just, I don't know. It's just such a good time. It is such a good time to be a 49ers fan. The storyline surrounding this team, first and foremost, obviously, that gentleman over my left shoulder there, Mr. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, pick 262, 7th round rookie, has essentially come in for 3 games. He basically played the entire game against Miami and has brought home 3 dubs for the 49ers. They are currently on a 7-game win streak. They are the hottest team in the NFL. And I would imagine if you polled any coach, any GM, any fan base, they would tell you that the 49ers are not a team that they are wanting to face in the postseason. And I don't blame them, because this 49ers team, since the Christian McCaffrey trade, has been far and away the best team in the NFL by any measure. But let's look at my favorite measure, DVOA. We talked about this on our last episode with Akash. This 49ers team is number 1 overall in DVOA since the Christian McCaffrey trade, and it's not even close. This team is at, I believe, about 64%. And again, 0% is average. It's an average NFL performance. And this team's at 68% since the Christian McCaffrey trade. Not sure what that will look like after this game. But this team is special. I'm just going to say it. This team is special. It feels special. It just, the vibes are immaculate right now. We've got veteran leadership all over the place. We've got a defense that I don't know. I think I could look it up about 7:00 last night. I was trying to come up with a nickname that I thought would fit for this defense, and my first attempt was widely booed, and I guess rightfully so. I was trying to include something San Francisco related, so I was like, hey, how about the sourdough swarm, right? And most people rejected that pretty quickly. So fair enough. Hey, fair enough. But then I thought to myself, what is it about this defense that's been incredible? And I thought any team that comes up against this defense since that Chiefs game is lucky, like legitimately lucky, to score 17 points. No team has scored more than 17 points. And so I thought to myself, hey, what if we call this the NC-17 defense? Because there's no chance you're scoring more than 17. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'll keep calling it from now on. This is the NC-17 defense. And not only that, but you could think of it this way. What this defense does to opposing teams, it's not safe for work. It is NC-17 for violence, because they are ass kickers, and it is so much fun to watch. So let's look at some of the storylines. Let's look at this game. One of the things, and I tweeted this out. I tweeted this out onto the timeline, and then actually had to. I immediately deleted it because right when I hit send, Seattle scored that touchdown to make it 21-13. But prior to that, it was 21-6. We had about 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and there was a little bit of and here's our buddy Zain. Let's add him to the stream. But there was a little bit of like, hey, this offense isn't performing great on the timeline. And I was trying to give a little bit of perspective, and this was my perspective. The 49ers looked like they were playing a Thursday night football game, right? Like it looked like that. And Thursday night football games are gross. It sucks. I hate to have Thursday night football games. They're never good. The only one that I remember ever being really entertained by was the one back in 2019, or maybe it was even 2018, between the 49ers and the Rams, where it was just like back and forth and back and forth.
The Brian Hoyer game, where the only game where Brian Hoyer really like played. Yeah, I remember that.
Exactly. So, outside of that, Thursday night football games are gross and they're ugly. And did the offense look amazing? No. But a little bit of perspective, the 49ers looked like they were playing a Thursday night football game. And with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, they still were up 21-6 on a playoff caliber team, a hated division rival, at their place. 21-6. Like, did the offense look great? No, but there really wasn't at any point in that game, Zain, and I don't know if you felt this way. I never felt like that game was anywhere near close to a comeback for those Seahawks. It was an ass kicking.
It was. And the score is not indicative of that, because every time the 49ers had some sort of big play or game-changing play, it seemed like it was a penalty, or, the roughing the passer call. Look, if that roughing the passer call, and I don't know if we've talked about this already, but if that doesn't happen, it's 28-3. Okay. And Josh Johnson is coming in the game at that point. And we're just, Brock's on ice for the rest of the game. And at that point, it doesn't matter. Like, it's a blowout at that game. But look, the way that the rule is stated, the call was correct. However, that should not be a rule. The rule should be changed by the book. Okay, fine. You landed on him, whatever. And props to Nick Bosa, because after the game, he was like, look, I cost my team. Like, what a leader, by the way. What a fantastic guy that, that's leading this defense. Like, he's the best player on the defense, on the best defense in the league. And he acts like it even off the field. And
he's the defensive player of the year.
Absolutely. I think it surpassed Micah Parsons for sure.
Yeah.
And after the game, he talked about just owning it. He's like, I got to be better. And that was something that cost my team. And, I just got to make sure that I'm better about it in the future. And it's like, man, bro, like, it's not your fault. You don't got to apologize for that, man. Like, it's a stupid rule. And I hate that they had to call that. And it absolutely changed the game, because it kept Seattle kind of in it. But to your point, I never felt at any point that Seattle was actually going to pull off a comeback. Even when it was 21-13, I was like, okay, they still need a touchdown and a 2. And essentially it's 2 first downs, and the 49ers can wrap this up against a really porous run defense. So that being said, there are psychological wins, and I'm bummed that I couldn't open the show. So that's been a few shows in a row that haven't opened. So maybe this should be the new tradition, that I jump in late, or I just don't open the show, right? Like, maybe that's
there it is.
The new tradition. But I think that this was a psychological win for them, because Seattle, especially up in Seattle, has been a bugaboo of theirs for a long, long time. And for them to be able to go into Seattle, dominate them, get the division win, and do it with their third string quarterback, who looks like QB1. I'm not going to lie right now, Brian. He looks like QB1 right now. To do all of that.
100% he looks like QB1.
Like, can you look at this? Can you honestly say that he's not playing better than Jimmy and Trey? Can you honestly say that? I mean,
no. I mean, he is playing better than Jimmy and better than Trey.
Mm-hmm.
He just is. Again, and I would say slightly than what Jimmy was doing up until the point that he got injured, right? Jimmy was on a hot streak, and I will give Jimmy his flowers. He was playing well. But Brock Purdy just and there's a couple plays that I would like to highlight as we talk about Brock, where again, that is where I'm pointing and going, that is better than anything that Jimmy Garoppolo could ever hope and dream to do. But yeah, he's been incredible. It's such a story. It's the legend, the legend of 2022 Brock Purdy, and it just continues.
You are
to
the
grow.
captain of that. You are the captain of that bandwagon.
Choo choo. Right? That's
you should
me.
get your Brock Purdy shirt should have a C on it. It should.
Oh,
You
that's
are
a
the
great
captain.
idea. I should figure out how to do that. That's a great idea.
You should
I might
absolutely do
have
that.
to
Also,
figure
by
that
the
out.
way, get your Brock Purdy shirts. Send a link on Twitter last night. Brian Rennick is selling Brock Purdy shirts. You can see the logo right behind him. We're gonna pimp that shirt out right now. We're gonna pimp it out.
Let's go. We gotta, let's get as many as we can on fans as we ride this this postseason train. Because as I said before, I'm riding this Brock Purdy hype train until the wheels fall off, and it sure looks like those wheels are on with, I don't know, they're welded on at this point. They're not falling off. They're
not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
You know what the most impressive drive to me, Brian, was last night? And it's a nothing drive, but it just shows how poised this kid is and how he just seems unflappable. It was the drive where they're pinned at their own 1. That drive started at the 1. And at that point, the game was like, they just needed any sort of points right then to kind of put the game away and seal it. And they started at the 1. It was 3rd down. They had a couple of yards to get away out of the shadow of the goalpost. It was 3rd down. He hits Jawan Jennings on a slant to get a 1st down, to get the ball out to the 15-yard line. And it was huge because that was one of those situations where they just needed punting room, literally just needed room to be able to punt the ball out of the end zone and to not have Brock make a mistake. Like we saw Jimmy step out of the back of the end zone earlier this year. And we saw a safety pick, or it was like a safety pick 6 right on the same play on the earlier this year against the Broncos.
The safety was the better outcome.
It was better the outcome, right?
Because it would have been a pick 6,
right? And
it was a pick
Brock,
6.
It was a pick 6, and Brock goes in there and he's able to not only not make a mistake, but they're throwing out of the end zone, which is something you would never see a coach. So props to Kyle for having the confidence to do that. But it's those little intangible things that he's already doing that make me hopeful for not only this playoff run they're about to go on, but the future as well. Because look, at this point, I'm not saying that Brock Purdy will be a better quarterback than Trey will. But what I'm saying is that at this point in their careers, Brock is more polished as a quarterback than Trey is, just as a result of experience, right? He had 41 college starts.
47.
And just as 47, college starts.
Yeah.
And just as a result of those 47 starts in college, Brock has gotten a world's worth of experience that Trey has yet to have. And you can say that the ceiling on Trey is higher, which I agree. But you could argue that for a Kyle Shanahan offense and a championship roster that is ready to win now, Brock Purdy might be the better fit going forward. And we'll see what happens. Look, I'm a Trey guy as well. I don't care who the quarterback is. I will stand whoever plays that position. But going into next year, you have a really good problem here where you have 2 quarterbacks that you could potentially start and win with assuming that Jimmy moves on, which I think he will.
Yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy's play over the last 3 games and what he will continue to do moving forward, 3 games left in the regular season, and then whatever happens in the postseason. What it has done is made Jimmy Garoppolo expendable, right? Which up until that Miami game, it didn't necessarily look like he was. Right before that Miami game, that report came out that the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo were looking at possibly another extension, right? We weren't saying multi-year or anything like that, but they were looking at reuniting. And so I think that train, or not train, because this is the hype train, that ship has sailed. But here's the thing. And this is, and I said this on our episode after that Miami victory, when you so kindly dubbed me as the captain of the Brock Purdy hype train. What has me so excited about Brock is not the physical tools. It's not even the play on the field. It is the intangibles. And and you use the word intangible because it's like, how do you measure it? And you can't, but you can feel it. Like it, I can't put to words what it is, but you can feel this kid's poise. You can even see it, but this kid is poised. He's mature. He knows what his role is, and he's not trying to play outside of that. And I think what I loved most, there were a couple things in the post game. One, Michael Smith, right, was on the reporter on the Amazon Prime post game.
I saw you tweeted at you too.
Huh? Yeah. So I
saw you
tweeted
tweeted
and then
you.
he quote tweeted me. Yeah. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
sweet. I was hoping for like a like, but yeah, awesome engagement there. But
Hey, Michael Smith, come
what
on
he
the
said,
show. Say
yeah,
what's
I
up.
know. Hey, you know what? That's a great idea. I should tweet at him and be like, hey, you liked my tweet. Like, let's go. Let's get on the show. And here's why. Here's why it's important. Michael Smith was working for the Boston Globe and covering the New England Patriots in 2001. And what he said on the post game was that Brock Purdy gives him the same feelings that 2001 Tom Brady gave him.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened in 2002? In 2002, Tom Brady led the Patriots to a Super Bowl. In 2001, he still led them to the playoffs, didn't have a great performance. They went out in the first round. But basically what he said was the moment is not too big for this kid. And it hasn't been. And he attributes that to his experience at college at Iowa State, because Tom Brady said the same thing. Someone asked Tom Brady in 2001, like, are you nervous? And Tom Brady, like, I've played in front of 90,000 in Michigan. Like, this is nothing to me. And it's the same thing. Brock Purdy played in the Big 12. He's played at Oklahoma. He's played at Texas. He's been in these environments. And so it is that experience that Trey Lance doesn't have that has allowed him to step in and just this offense not only not miss a beat, but elevate a little bit with his playmaking ability. And you talked about that drive where he hit Jennings on the third down. The play prior to that is one of the ones that I was thinking of, where it's a play action naked boot to the left. There's a defender there. He outruns him, gets out of the end zone, and is able to throw it to Ray McLeod. Now, there was a penalty on that play, and it didn't count. But just the fact that athleticism allowed to extend that play and not take a sack, which that exact play, Jimmy Garoppolo is going down in the end zone. He's not stepping out of the back. They weren't that far back, but he's going down. He can't outrun that defender. But Brock Purdy could. He's sneaky athletic. And then the other play, the one that a lot of people are pointing to, is that play that essentially it didn't ice the game. Jordan Ponchez Mason iced the game, and we can talk about that. But that scramble for the first down, right? It was 3rd and 2. Shanahan calls again another naked bootleg, this time to the right. Play action naked bootleg to the right. Purdy fakes the handoff, starts the bootleg. Defender starts to close on him, sees the first down, rushes for it, has the wherewithal to start his slide inbounds and extend the ball in front of him so that A, the clock keeps going, and B, he gets the first down. That is elite level football IQ from a 7th round rookie. And that is really where, again, this whole story starts and ends, is that background that he has. And I know I'm going long, and I'll allow you to jump in a second, but here's the other thing that I thought was really awesome to see. After the game, you start to see on the timeline a video clip of Adam Peters and John Lynch after the draft this year. And someone had asked Adam Peters about Brock Purdy, right? Because no one expected the 49ers to draft a quarterback. They had just drafted Trey Lance the season before. And they asked him about Brock Purdy. And basically what Adam Peters said was, we love the way that he plays the position. He's not the biggest guy, and he doesn't have the biggest arm, but we love the way that he plays the position. And he turned around a team in Iowa State when he got there. And so I was like, well, what did he mean by that? And so I looked it up. Here's Iowa State prior to Brock Purdy's arrival: 2010, 5-7, 2011, 6-7, 2012, 6-7, 2013, 3-9, 2014, 2-10, 2015, 3-9, 2016, 3-9. 2016 is Matt Campbell's first season in Ames, Iowa, at Iowa State. 2017, 8-5. So in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the previous 8 seasons before Brock Purdy's arrival, they had one winning season, and it was the season before he got there. Brock Purdy arrives in 2018, enters in game 5 of the season. Iowa State goes 8-5, but 7-2 with Purdy under center. They lose the Alamo Bowl to Washington State. 2019, 7-6. They lost the Camping World Bowl to Notre Dame. 2020, 9-3, 8-1 in conference, finished 9th in the AP poll. No bowl game because it's 2020. It's the COVID year. 2021, 7-6, and they lost the Cheez-It Bowl versus Clemson. The 4 years that Brock Purdy was at Iowa State, they had a winning record. In fact, in his junior season, they went all the way to 9th in the AP poll. 2022, first season without Brock Purdy, 4-8 and 1-8 in conference. The dude's a winner. I mean, he's a winner, and you can't. I know that people would love to argue that Jimmy Garoppolo, when people would argue Jimmy Garoppolo's a winner, it's like you can't quantify that, whatever. I agree, you can't quantify it, but it's there. It's there. And this kid, like I said, came in 5th game as a red shirt, not even a red shirt freshman, a true freshman, and led that team to a 7-2 record. Nothing is too big for this kid because he prepares like nobody else. And that's the other thing that Michael Smith said was his preparation and his experience are reminiscent of 2001 Tom Brady. And that, hopefully, for everyone listening, everyone watching right now, hopefully that gets you excited as hell, because it did for me.
Yeah, and I think that to that point, there was, you know how randomly, like, you'll go to YouTube and you'll see certain clips that pop up on your homepage just based off of stuff that you've been searching for and whatever the algorithm is. So around the time of, gosh, it was earlier this year, it had to have been around the draft, when I was like looking at college players and, like, you know, looking at scouting, things like that. There was a video of a quarterback, and it said, like, I believe the title was the most ridiculous incompletion you'll ever see, or something like that. I'll link it to my Twitter. I'll tweet it out later. But it just was a quarterback, you know, that was rolling out of the pocket, and he was completely horizontal, like about a foot off the ground.
And he threw the ball with like less than a foot off the ground.
Right. And I'm like, wow, that's impressive. And you know who that quarterback was? It was Brock Purdy.
It was Brock Purdy, number 15 from Iowa State.
I thought nothing at the time of it, right? And I thought that, well, I mean, I thought that was a fantastic incompletion. That's crazy athleticism. But beyond that, I thought nothing at the time of it. And now you've got that guy leading your team into the playoffs for at least one home game. So that's one thing. The second thing I wanted to touch on was that same thought of 2001 Brady. And every once in a while, I tweeted this out too. Every once in a while, like, you'll come across a situation where a quarterback has like that quote unquote improbable journey where you just like, where did this guy come from? Or this kind of all came together at one time. It happened in 99 with Kurt Warner, happened in 2000 with Trent Dilfer. It happened in 2001 with Brady, which subsequently turned into the greatest quarterback of all time. 2002 with Brad Johnson. You could argue 2012 with Joe Flacco, but I mean, I feel like Flacco was a little bit better than most of those guys, with the exception of Brady, and Nick Foles in 2018. So could this be the next sort of improbable journey for quarterbacks? And the reason why I think it might be is because all of those teams had one or both of these things, a good running game and an elite defense. So the Niners have both of those right now. They've got, as long as they can stay healthy, they've got both of those. Plus you add Debo and Elijah Mitchell coming in at the end of the season, and this is going to be a really scary group to stop. The only thing that I will say here is that they have to stay healthy. And the other thing that you and I were talking about offline is, so they've won 7 in a row now, right? And there's 3 games left on the schedule. There's Washington, Raiders, and whatever's left of the Arizona Cardinals. It's very possible that they can win all 3 of those games. So you're telling me that you're going into the playoffs with a 10-game win streak at that point, right? I know I'm looking ahead. And then you got to win 4 more to hoist the Lombardi. So that's 14 wins in a row, essentially, that you're asking a team to do. This sounds really dumb, but just as a fan, the fan in me kind of wants them to like lose a game just to get it out of the way, and then just have them start like a little baby winning streak in the playoffs. You're like, okay, because it's really hard to win, 10 games in a row in the NFL, let alone 14, right? It just doesn't happen. So, because at some point, some team's going to get you, right? And I want that to happen in the regular season, right? Whether Purdy is healthy enough to play against Washington or not, we'll see. But I would much rather them just like throw one game in the regular season, rest their players, and like, all right, cool, let's just reset, and then we can start with another win streak. I know it's completely unfounded, completely superstitious, and completely ridiculous, but for the sake of our content, I want to put that out there and see what people say.
Well, and here's the thing, and I completely understand. You're right. Like that's like you said, that's 14 in a row. I honestly I don't know that I don't know if anybody has an NFL win streak of well, I guess the
Dolphins,
the undefeated Dolphins, and then the Patriots, the 18-1 Patriots. But yeah, but here's the thing: the number 2 seed is 100% in play right now, right? The Vikings have the number 2 seed. They have right now a half game lead on the 49ers because they haven't played yet this week. The Vikings have 3 losses. The 49ers have 4. The Vikings play the Colts this week, and then they end their season against the Giants, the Packers, and the Bears. Those are their last 4 games. This Vikings team, I really don't know what to make of them. I don't feel that they're as good as their record is. And so I do think that there is a game in there where they could be got. And so as much as it would be nice to rest Christian McCaffrey for a little bit, it'd be nice to rest Brock and his oblique and that rib injury, whatever that is. The nice thing is they have 10 days now, which I think should be good for Brock. But you got to push for that 2 seed, because if you get that 2 seed, 1, you're guaranteed 2 home playoff games, right? If you win the first, let's throw that out there. You're guaranteed 2. And then and then that's the big one, right? Because even if they don't get 2, they'll get 3. And if somebody knocks off the Eagles and the 49ers continue to play, then they would host unless, again, the Vikings stay at 2 and they win their first 2 games. So I think they got to push. They got to push for that 2 seed. And I think they will. I don't think they want to rest on their laurels, but that's the other thing is you look at this NFC playoff picture, and, we talked about it on the last episode. Is there any team that scares you? And Akash did say the Eagles, and I get it. I understand. I don't want to say the Eagles don't scare me, but there's also this. I think Dallas could go into Philly and beat Philly. I really do.
Yeah.
And the beauty about that is, again, then the NFC Championship game ends up at Levi's if the 49ers make it. So, that has to be the goal. That has to be the goal. And I assume that it is for them. And so, here's the thing about Brock Purdy, right? Every time it was in week 1. Oh, what a test, right? To come in cold and lead against a playoff team. He passed that test. And then it was like, oh, next test. You've got the GOAT coming in. It's a homecoming game for him. First time he's played in a long time. The Bucs have a decent defense. Todd Bowles, is going to make life a living hell for a rookie quarterback. Boom, passes that test. Then it's like, okay, but now he has to go to Seattle on a short week, division opponent, biggest rival, hat and t-shirt game, oblique and rib injury. What happens? Absolutely knocks it out of the park. Every challenge you set up, this kid has knocked him down. And so I was about to say, now he faces his next challenge and what will amount to the best defense that he's faced so far, which is the Washington Commanders on Christmas Eve. But this kid is a test acer, right? He's aced every test. And so I have all the confidence in the world that regardless of which opponent he's facing, he's going to be fine. The game is not going to be too big for him. Did he throw an interception in this game? I mean, technically no, right? Not on the stat sheet, but we all know that was a pick, right? And what I think about Purdy is he's going to watch film back and also say that's an interception. What can I learn from that, right? He's going to tag that himself. And so, but he's a rookie quarterback. Like, I would expect an interception. And even if he threw that one, I wasn't going to be like, oh, great. Like, okay, well, I guess he's not as good as we thought. No, I mean, quarterbacks are going to throw interceptions, right? And rookie quarterbacks absolutely are going to throw interceptions. You have to have that expectation going in. And as long as you do, then you can weather that storm and be like, oh, it is what it is, right? So, yeah, I think they got to win out. And then if they decide to rest some players against Arizona, maybe, depending upon, again, what the Vikings do. But I think they're going to gun for that 2 seed, and I think they should.
I just feel like there's too much time left between now and the end of the season. Like, I just feel like, at that point you will have been resting guys for like a month, and there's something to be said about rest versus rust, right? And I think that you just can't. If there was like a week left in the season, then you could say like, okay, fine. But the other thing the counterpoint that I do have to your point about Minnesota getting number 2 is that, to be honest, that is one of the most beatable teams in the playoffs right now. If you look at it, like Minnesota does not scare me one bit, and it's because of their quarterback, right? So I think that I can see Minnesota getting knocked off in the first round. I really can, depending on who they play. And if the Niners end up with the 3 seed, then so be it. But I think that the overarching thing, before we kind of get out of here and wrap up here, I want to also give flowers to Christian McCaffrey as well. His best game, I feel like, since he's been here, at least running the ball, he was fantastic. It was a very Christian McCaffrey heavy game plan, and this is why you got him, right, for games like this. And I'm so glad that Kyle featured him like he did, and you made that trade for primetime games like this, where your stars come out to shine, and the stars won the game for the 49ers last night. Christian McCaffrey, Dre Greenlaw, Nick Bosa, that 49ers defense, which is full of talented players. The stars are paid to win, and they won the game for you last night. And the defense, there's how much more can you say? Every time you need a big play, they're there. Every time you need to stop, they're there. Every time you need them to step up, they did. They had the people talk about the almost Brock Purdy interception. Awesome. Geno Smith had like 3 of those. The Niners almost picked it off. So they're always around the ball. It's not just that they're a sound tackling team that doesn't force turnovers. They force turnovers, and game-changing turnovers. So this is the thing that scares teams the most. You have a hot quarterback, and you have a hot defense going into the playoffs. And it is very difficult to beat a hot quarterback and a hot team in the playoffs, because they're all 1-game seasons at that point. And this 49ers team, I can guarantee you, nobody wants a part of this team right now. Nobody.
Not a single team. And, and that's the thing. We talked this whole time, barely brought up the defense, because it just feels like that's the expected, that is the expected result. And here's the thing. I said it earlier. I threw it on the timeline last night. I want to say the second or third quarter, trying to figure out a nickname for this defense. I said the NC-17 defense, right? Because there's no chance you're scoring more than 17. And here's the thing. They've played 14 games this season. In those 14 games, in 11 of them, teams have scored 17 or less. Like, that is incredible. In a league where the rules have been put in place to have incredible offenses, you've got this defense that is literally destroying teams. And it's so fun to watch as a fan of that team. Probably terrifying to watch as a fan of any other team. But yeah, Nick Bosa, the entire defensive line, Geno Smith was under duress all game. They couldn't run the ball. Again, this offense didn't feel like they could do anything. And did they score a touchdown at the end? They absolutely did. And it felt like, there was a couple of confusing plays that had back-to-back long gains that ended up, they ended up giving up 7 there. And so, but they scored 13, right?
Yeah.
I said after, or is actually prior to the last drive in the first half, right? The 49ers were driving. And I tweeted out, I said, if Kyle Shanahan can get his patented Madden double up, right, which is score a touchdown to end the first half, receive the kick in the second half, and go down and score a touchdown, that was going to put this game to 21-3, and that was going to effectively end it. And that's what happened. They got to 20 points, and I guarantee everyone on that team said, oh, we're at 20. Well, game over, right? Not that we're going to stop playing, but we have enough faith in our defense to know that this team that we're playing right now, there's no chance they're scoring 20. There's no chance. So we good, right? Like on to our Christmas party. Akash said that little birdie told him that the 49ers are having their Christmas party tomorrow. And so,
Okay.
they'll be smoking that NFC West Division Champs pack at the Christmas party. I'm sure they're going to tie one off there. I'm going to need someone to have some video in there of what Brock Purdy looks like when he ties one on, because I can imagine it's I don't know. I don't even know what to imagine. But yeah, this team, I said it right before you hopped on, Zain. This team is special. It feels special. Yep. It feels different. It feels different than 2019. It feels different than 2012. It just feels different. It feels destiny-ish to me. Yeah. And again, with the number of storylines on QB3 is his 7th round rookie that has come in and absolutely, filled the shoes that he needed to. Like, just so many storylines. This just aggressively violent and punishing defense, a master play caller on both sides of the ball. In my opinion, the NFL Coach of the Year in Kyle Shanahan, the NFL Assistant Coach of the Year in DeMeco Ryans, and I would argue the NFL Executive of the Year in John Lynch, for the amount of depth and roster building that they've done to be able to clinch a division title with 3 games to play when your QB1 started the season as your QB3. Just
they are
incredible.
The first team.
Incredible.
They're the first team to clinch the division title this year in the NFL.
Yep.
And there were several times this season. As we kind of wrap up here, I want to just have, we have
NC-17 defense, Sarah. NC-17. Because there's no chance that you are scoring 17, and also rated NC-17 for violence.
I love it. And just an overarching feeling of thankfulness right now, because we thought that this season was done a couple times when Trey got hurt first, and then when they were 3-4, like, we were on this show saying, like, man, what is this season going to be? What is going to happen? They don't have a 1st round pick, and we were talking about, like, this team not being able to build for the future and all those things, and then Jimmy goes down, and we're like, oh man, now we're really in trouble. But then here comes Brock Purdy putting the Superman cape on, and it's just always the most unassuming people that kind of take you out of that sort of dark place. And I think that the way that the team and the fan base and the city and everybody have rallied around Brock Purdy universally to say, like, hey, you are the guy, because really there's no QB discussion at this point. They're all hurt, right? So everybody is rallying around Brock and saying, you are the guy, right? You are our last hope, right? Like, Star Wars, you are our last hope, right? Like, that's basically what it is, right?
Brock, you are our last hope.
Exactly. And it's been so nice to see, because, man, when a team and a fan base and a city rally behind a guy like that, it really gives them confidence. And this team is playing with a confidence that really we haven't seen from them in a long time. It's unmatched. Like, even 2019, right? Like, they were winning, but there were some cracks in the armor, and they were like, all right, like, we'll see if they can. And there were questions about Jimmy, and there were all sorts of questions that people had. But, like, I think that right now, Brock's kind of just, like, out there and playing. And one thing that I thought about before we went on the air today is that I feel like he's just too young to be worried about certain things, like to be stressed, right? Like, too young. We're young and ignorant. We just don't care about stuff, right? We just live our life. That's just what he's doing. Be stressed. Exactly. He's just playing right now. And when you're a veteran quarterback, you're taught all of these things and all these mechanics and all this other stuff, these bad habits that you develop that you're trying to get, your mind often becomes, like, mechanical, and you just don't let it out and play. Right now, it just feels like everything's coming to him easily because it's not mechanical for him. He's just going out there and playing. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with his youth. Like, he just doesn't know any better. Like, Seattle didn't phase him because he didn't know any better, because he's never played in Seattle before, right? So I think that they're using that to their advantage. And I really hope that they can capitalize on this. Look, records are made to be broken. The idea that no rookie quarterback has ever won a Super Bowl, that is made to be broken. That will one day be broken. Will it be this year? Who knows? I really hope so.
Yeah. I mean, why not Brock, right?
Why not Brock? So,
all right.
This is 3 shows this week, man. This is
I know.
a great job.
I know.
This was fantastic.
This was fun.
This was really fun. But I mean,
this team's fun to talk about.
They are fun to talk about, and it's a lot of fun to see what's going to happen next. And man, Al wasn't able to join us today, but he'll be with us next time. But man, I'm so happy right now with where this team is headed, and it's such a stark contrast from 4 months ago, right, where we were just like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And I'm
absolutely.
so happy. I'm so happy right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But like you said, we'll be back. We'll be back on Monday with Al. I think we're trying to line up at least one guest next week. I know that at least one could be Mr. Brian Peacock of Locked On 49ers, hoping to get him on next week. But make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the No Huddle podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that little bell so you get alerts when we go live. Like I said, we'll be back on Monday. But for Zain Nackby, I am Brian Rennick, and this is Odyssey's No Huddle podcast. See you next time.
Peace.